Blasphemous 2 is one of my favorite games of the year, and it's one of my favorite indies of all time. I loved getting the platinum in this game, and part of the reason this game is so good is down to the high quality of its bosses. So I figured, why not rank them? It's not like Democracy or anyone else is going to rank the bosses in this game, right? So let's dive right in, but before we do, this is your final major spoiler warning. I'll be going over all of the bosses in Blasphemous 2, so if you do not want to know what they are and you want to play the game first, put this video in your watch laters and do so now. Number 11. The bottom Blasphemous dollar is the Faceless One, Chisel of Oblivion. This is the tutorial boss of the game, so it's not really surprising that it's also the worst in this game. Tutorial bosses are there to teach the player the mechanics of the game from the most basic capacity, and it does a good enough job at that. It's as easy as dodging underneath his Ligarius wheel every time and smacking him in the face. Sometimes he'll do this dash attack that is easy enough to answer by jumping over and in the direction of the way he's dashing. This is the way I killed him because I was able to sneak in more hits by jumping that same direction. The best part of this boss is the cutscene reward at the end, but it's really only the good part of the boss. Number 10. Blasphemous 2 has 4 magic heavy bosses, and only half of them are good in my book. Sinodo, Hymn of 1,000 Voices, is not one of those bosses. The issue with him is that he's pretty easy to hit with Debla of the Lights, and I abused the hell out of that spell for the whole middle section of my playthrough. As it stands, I forgot this boss was even in the game because they didn't really stand out design-wise in either its gameplay mechanics or its look. Number 9. The second magic heavy boss is Sivsona Formosa Fimbra. This boss holds up a bit better than Sinodo in both gameplay mechanics and art design, and she's got some really cool moves that create interesting gameplay decisions for the player. First and foremost among these is her big downward beam attack that is only dodgeable by going under these platforms that appear in the middle of the stage. Just like Sinodo though, Sivsona is destroyed by Debla of the Lights, which at this time was even stronger for me because I had made a whole build around it when I fought her. A lot of my fight was just spamming the spell and building up magic so that I could cast it again, making her more easy than her late placement in the game would suggest. Number 8. One of the more interestingly designed bosses is Sentinel of the Emery. What I like about this boss is the fact that he's got a whetstone strapped to his back and he uses it to increase the sharpness of his blade over the course of the game. A lot of the time, multiple phases in boss fights really don't make sense if you take a second to think about it. Why does a boss get stronger as the fight goes on? Wouldn't he get weaker? Sentinel of the Emery gives a nice canonical reason why he gets stronger, since he's just getting a stronger blade through each stage of the fight. He also functioned as the last boss before unlocking the double jump, making the reward for killing him far more interesting than any other boss up to this point. Number 7. One of my favorite aspects of Blasphemous 2 is the way the weapons in the game function as Metroidvania abilities throughout the whole game. The last weapon I got was Veritable, and my reward for getting Veritable was Great Preceptor Radame. Funnily enough, I found Sarmiento and Cantella to be the best weapons in Blasphemous 2, so I completely ignored the new weapon when I poked holes in this old mummy. This boss has some tight dodges and jumps, and I liked him for that reason. Although he is functionally very weak, I really didn't find him that hard. Number 6. Final bosses are important, and getting them right is difficult. By the time the player has gotten to them, they might be over-leveled, over-equipped, or just too skilled for any challenge to matter. Devotion Incarnate is a really cool boss that is let down by the fact that he's far too easy for someone that has completed the game 100%. By the time I got to him, I discovered how absolutely busted and broken Seguiera to the Memory of Your Eyes is. This is the freeze time ability, an ability that trivializes any fight it's used in. This chant is so good that I created a build where I was basically able to spam the spell and beat Devotion Incarnate without getting hit once. Beating Devotion Incarnate in the fewest tries possible is important too, because he is one of the 2 bosses in the game that has an annoying, unskippable cutscene conversation before the fight starts each time. Dying to Devotion Incarnate is easy too, since he hits like a semi-truck with nitrous strapped to the back, casting all kinds of crazy magic. Realistically, he has like 3 spells, but they are the type of spells that are hard to figure out at first. Come to this fight with a maxed out health bar too, because getting hit once will be enough to kill you otherwise. Number 5. After getting Ruego al Alba, I was beset upon by Blasphemous of the Confraternity of Incorruptible Flesh. Blasphemous is a tricky little guy, being the only boss in the game with 3 full phases. Now these phases are properly scaffolded and they are interesting in the way they work, but each one was a learning curve for me. The third and final phase is one of the few things that gave me a little trouble in this game, because both the large guy and the little guy are attacking at the same time, each hurling projectiles from each side of the screen. The third phase is more annoying than interesting though, which is why I couldn't put Blasphemous higher on my list. Number 4. The second hardest boss in the game is Evaturno, Father of the Penitents. He's the other boss alongside Devotion Incarnate that has an annoying cutscene at the start of each fight. This boss is one of 2 bosses in the game that required me to look hard at my build, leave to explore the map for items, and return before I could retire him. I was going to do this anyway because I knew I wanted the platinum, but he forced me to 100% the game early. In the process, I discovered Seguiera to the Memory of Your Eyes, and as soon as I realized what it did and how good it is, Evaturno was eternally screwed. Freezing time is just too good, and I abused this spell to murder him quickly. I will say that he is the only boss where the spell on its own wouldn't be enough to take out, provided you didn't use the near infinite fervor build and chain stunned him to death. He's got a super deadly attack and he's gonna kill in a matter of seconds if you're not careful. I discovered that the best time to hit him is when he does a big sword drop. This attack leaves him vulnerable for a second or two, allowing the player to deal massive damage, and as such, it is my recommended way of dealing with him. Number 3. Oruspina of the Confraternity of Embroiderers is my pick for the third best boss of Blasphemous 2. Oruspina is the second boss I came across, and through her I learned how to parry better, and I found her in general to be super fun to fight against. Since I started with Sarmiento and Quintella, Oruspina was like my Dark Link. Oruspina also has only 5 moves, a lunge stab, a projectile attack, a teleport attack that is super telegraphed, and 2 separate close-up swings that are super easy to parry. I'm pretty sure the boss is designed to teach the player the importance of parrying, since it does seem like each of the bosses in the weapon areas are designed to be fought with the weapon housed in their area. Parrying is core to Sarmiento and Quintella's kit, and by the end of the game, I got super good at it, and it's all thanks to Oruspina. Number 2. I played through most of Blasphemous 2 without health or fervor upgrades. Most of the time I didn't notice, but Odon of the Confraternity of Salt made me acutely aware of how little health I actually had. Killing me with just 2 hits on average, Odon was a decent enough challenge for me. I like the way that this boss's variety of attacks work. Some are easy to parry, but the windup is somewhat similar to another move that can't be parried. In addition, Odon summons adds, has a floor-wide AoE, and has a Shokan-style dive attack. I died a fair amount to this guy, but him, like all bosses, is easy once you understand how to dodge each of their attacks. And I eventually killed him with the oppressive power of Sarmiento and Quintella as well. Number 1! And finally, my favorite boss in Blasphemous 2 is Benedicta of the Confraternity of Endless Horizon. Funnily enough, because I played Final Fantasy XVI earlier this year, this is not the only Benedicta boss fight of 2023. However, this boss fight is far more interesting in a gameplay sense than the one in Final Fantasy XVI. Benny, my girl, is the first magic-heavy boss you encounter in the game, and she is the best one as well. My favorite thing about the boss, and possibly the thing that makes her one of the best bosses of 2023, is the way that she makes the player use both the double jump and air dash ability in the fight. In that way, she functions as a skill check boss fight for this game. Were you paying attention? Have you learned the game mechanics yet? I love when I come across these types of bosses, the ones that teach you to be better at the game while killing you over and over again. Once I encountered this boss, I couldn't put Blasphemous 2 down, and it is because of her high quality that I got the platinum so quickly. And that's my top 10, my guys. Are you liking Blasphemous 2? What's your favorite boss in this game or in games in general? Let me know all about it in the comments below, and if you liked the video, please consider smashing that like button, subbing to the channel, and dinging that bell for more rarely good gaming content from your favorite Blasphemer. I plan to make a post-platinum review for the game in the coming weeks. Regardless of what you choose to do, have a divine day, my gamers.